Welcome to Shaun Show. My name is Shaun. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Click down at the bottom. Helps us out here greatly. It's a party here at the Shaun Show. I want you to be a part of it. I reply to every single comment that's left down below. So let's talk, let's speak about what is going on in these NBA streets. Now, we just had the trade deadline, right? And I was watching it. Be honest with you, I was painting a room, and I didn't want it, like, when you're painting, like, obviously you're not trying to have your cell phone by you, something falls out your pocket into the paint. You're not trying to have that. So I turned it on to the jump in the background. I was listening and painting and doing, I was doing my best Bob Ross. All right, I was just painting a white wall, but I felt like I was Bob Ross painting, and y'all should look that up if you don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I'm watching to see, like, this big move, because I have a feeling that as I'm watching this, I have a burp that's stuck, and I don't want to, like, burp on camera because that would be real crazy. But I'm watching this, and as I'm watching this, right, I'm thinking there's going to be some type of big movement that takes place. Like, there's going to be a trade that I didn't expect and or anticipate, right? So I'm thinking that the trade that I'm not expecting or anticipating is going to be around maybe a star that, you know, no one really knew was on the market. Like, for example, like, I don't know, Russell Westbrook or something like. There was no rumors or anything, but I just thought that. But the focus of the trade deadline was around Kyle Lowry, and the Lakers were one of the teams at the last minute that were brought in the Kyle Lowry sweepstakes. So I'm thinking that Kyle Lowry is going to leave. I'm sure you guys saw the press conference that he gave. I'm sure everything pointed towards this man leaving Toronto. And everything pointed to him going to a contender. I really thought that if it wasn't going to be the Lakers, it was going to be Philly. Because Philly, if you had Tobias Harris, Kyle Lowry, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid, and you have really a four-headed monster at that point going against the Brooklyn Nets some point in the playoffs, then I would have to go with Philadelphia, because you know, they just don't have a big man. They just don't. DeAndre Jordan, you can argue that. Blake is going to play some center position. You can argue that. You can argue all these different things. But they just don't have somebody like a Joel Embiid who's an MVP candidate. You just didn't have that. So I'm thinking, because of that, I'm thinking that this is going to be a situation where he goes to Philadelphia. That didn't happen. So then I'm thinking, okay, maybe we are putting too much emphasis on Kyle Lowry. Maybe there's a big trade that's going down with Oladipo. So no one was really talking about Oladipo. If you look, nobody was really talking about Oladipo. No one really knew what was going to happen. And it must have been pretty miserable in Houston, because Oladipo was there for, what, 20 games? Like, I don't even think that he even, like, acted like he was going to stay. Was it really the coach? Is Steven Silas that bad of a coach? Is it the team? Because I think the team, when you added Oladipo with John Wall and Christian Wood, I think you have something there. Then you had PJ Tucker. Eric Gordon has been, you know, really injured. So I think you had a pretty good, you know, squad that could compete. They weren't going to win a championship, but they could compete. There would be an interesting first round matchup. That's what I would think. Like, if you had those guys against Portland in the first round, which, of course, the ranking and stuff, like, I'm just saying, like, if you're watching this on TV, that would be an entertaining first round. If you saw Houston as it was against Portland as it was, that would have been interesting. But that didn't happen. So Oladipo ends up going to Miami, and I saw what they traded for Oladipo. And I'm thinking to myself, well, why didn't a team like the Lakers try to get Oladipo? Oladipo went to Miami at a cheaper price tag than what they were looking for Kyle Lowry. They were acting like Kyle Lowry was a second coming of Steph Curry in this trade deadline. And I don't understand Toronto's thinking because, you know, Kyle Lowry, he can just walk away. He doesn't have to stay in Toronto. I don't think he wants to stay in Toronto. He can just walk away, no problem, clean and clear, and there's no issue. He could just walk away. You're going to try to have to convince him into doing a sign and trade with somebody, but we could have did that during, you know, this trade deadline. We could have done that. But if, let's say he wants to go to the Clippers, who you going to sign and trade for? Like, there's no assets there that you would want to take on in Toronto. There's nobody there. Let's say that he signed with Brooklyn. What are you going to get? Hopefully Spencer Dinwiddie. Like, the salaries don't match. Like, there's a bunch of things that just does not make any sense to me in terms of Toronto asking so much for this guy. Because there's no disrespect to Kyle Lowry, but Kyle Lowry is not, he's not even in Chris Paul's league right now. And Chris Paul, listen, Chris Paul is older. Chris Paul is not an NBA champion, but when it comes to the impact that he has on a team, you see he has Phoenix. A lot of people said that he's a sleeper MVP candidate. He has Phoenix really playing ball, you know? So if you had a Chris Paul, I don't know if you hear the dogs barking, because it seems like whenever I come into the studio, right? And I like everything's open, it's airy. I'm gonna show you the studio one day. Everything's open and airy. I don't want it to be, you know, congested and all that. I'm sit down, I turn on the camera, me and you talk, because we cool. You my homeboy, homegirl, you know that. And then the dogs start barking. I don't know if they hear me. I don't even have a dog. I don't have dogs. I live in a house and I don't have dogs. I have a cat. Anyway. So back to what I was saying. Chris Paul is an MVP candidate, sleeper. He would probably be number 4 if we were going to realistically name MVP candidates. Look at the impact. Look at his numbers. Look at what he's done with Phoenix. He is an impact player. He's an all-star. Like, I mean, I can go on and on and on about Chris Paul. When Chris Paul was in Houston, look at what he did in Houston, right? They almost were a game away if he didn't get hurt. A lot of people say that if Chris Paul was 100% healthy, that Houston would have eliminated Golden State. I don't think so. I mean, you had a nuclear weapon, you know, called Kevin Durant. I don't think that was going to happen. Then, you know, they face Houston again, and, you know, Kevin Durant went down, but they still beat Houston. You know, it was crazy, and Chris Paul was helped. It was crazy. But look at the impact. They were when he was on Houston, they were a championship contending team, right? Then he went to OKC. OKC, they were a champ. They took the Houston Rockets to, what was it, 7 games? I mean, come on, man. Like, the OKC was like a really good put together team. Like, they really were. And they decided to like break it up, because if you keep winning, then you can't get these draft picks. So they sent Chris Paul on his way. The coach left. All, you know the story. But Chris Paul has an impact every place he goes to. So Chris Paul, to me, has more of a value than a Kyle Lowry. But because of Kyle Lowry's age, because of his championship victory with Kawhi Leonard and how he played against Golden State during that time period, like, and during that playoff run, you have more of a value, I guess, on him. But I don't think that he deserved that steep of a price tag. So all in all, I was shocked that Kyle Lowry wasn't moved, because Toronto's not going to really end up getting anything. I think they would have got more now compared to hoping that Kyle Lowry agrees to a sign and trade. Now, if he does a sign and trade, the good thing about that for Kyle Lowry is that he'll get more money. He'll get more money opting in compared to going to a new situation and being in that new situation and maybe getting less because they reward players for staying with the same team. So no big trade. Victor Oladipo to me is a sleeper trade. Do I think it's a major game shifting trade that's going to? No. I think for the short term, it's a really good trade. For the long term, you don't know because he hasn't re-signed or re-up with Miami. They're renting him, right? So you won't be able to tell exactly how big of an impact this is until he decides to sign a long-term contract. But those are really the things. I mean, you have, the Evan Fournier and then you have the Nikolai Vujicic. I'm gonna hurt myself saying that. Anyway, I'm gonna hurt myself. You have that, but there really wasn't too much movement going on because though even with those movements, I mean, Boston, they get a little better. They got a shooter. Okay, cool. Denver, they get a little better. They got Aaron Gordon at the power forward position. Okay, cool. Do they get leaps and bounds better? Like if I put them against Utah, who you picking? I'm probably Utah, right? So all in all, it was a good but not great NBA trade season. I really don't see any blockbuster moves. I think the buyout market is going to be more popping than what is actually popped during the trade. But I just think that was stupid to hold on to Kyle Lowry because I don't know what you expect to get when he leaves Toronto in the offseason. But anyway, comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your thought process is. Like I said, I answer every single comment. Just tell me what you think because I like to me, I'm just confused and baffled by it. And then some people were saying like the Lakers should have gave away like half their roster to get. No, not for Kyle Lowry. But let me know what your thoughts are. And I'll see you here next time on the Shaun Show.